Knox County 911.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Special Agent Richard A. Smith, badge number 0931 with the United States Illuminati Order. Right now, I'm currently stuck inside of the air conditioner unit on top of the Knoxville Museum of Art, downtown at the World's Fair Park.
I get mine from Pirate News.
Order! Order! Miss Order! Order!
Reality TV, only on Pirate News. Local, national, world, universe, the Pirate News starts now.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historic opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Okay, just as an introduction, I'm going to get an F. My 3 teachers have told me before I start, I'm getting an F. Nothing I can do about it, and they really want me to withdraw from the class. But it might cost me thousands of dollars that I have to repay for my grant money. And it might cost me over $10,000 grant money if it hurts my future grants. So I'm going forward with this speech, even though they have not counted 90% of my homework I've turned in, and they're refusing to even read my homework that I've turned in. So I believe this speech was banned because it mentions one little example in the speech. I use an example of red light traffic cameras that are all over the state. I just use it as an example. It's not the main point of the speech. And apparently that they're violating their academic freedom contract with me, which is in the Student Handbook, that says we give you in college, you're adults, you're in college, you have academic freedom. That's the contract that I have with the university system. Everybody does in every university. So don't know really what the deal is, but there may be an appeal, so this speech is done for the purposes of appeal. So it's supposed to be a 5 to 10 minute speech, but I've added some parts because from a legal point of view, it's called an offer of proof under the Tennessee Rules of Evidence, where if a judge says you cannot present that evidence in court, the lawyer goes, offer of proof, Your Honor. And then the judge is required to allow that evidence in, not to be seen by the jury, but to be seen if it goes up on appeal. Because the appellate court cannot look back at new evidence. They can't see new evidence. They can only see what's in the trial. So to preserve my academic freedom contract, I need to have this information. So there's a little bit of boring laws that I'm going to read the text from. It adds an extra 5 minutes. So it's not too painful. We might actually learn something that's interesting. So, and it's stuff you've heard about. It's just that I'm going to, and this is just an introduction, so it's not meant to be an all-encompassing speech on this is how you do it. This is just a kiddie pool, shallow water kind of thing. If you want to dive in later, you can do your own research. Okay, here we go. Do you need a government job competing against thousands of other job applicants? What do you do? Do you need a Social Security check, but you've been denied benefits? What do you do? Do you need a paycheck? Do you pay bills, or do you pay an expensive traffic ticket? Want to win in traffic court without wasting time, money, or energy? This information is used millions of times every day by citizens and non-citizens of every political persuasion, every race, creed, color, sexual persuasion to achieve the outcome they desire. It's non-political. These are simple options you may not be aware of. These are communication options. So this is a speech on communications. Laws are fun once you realize they can help you, and that may be a slight exaggeration because laws really are not very fun, but they are a little bit interesting when you realize they can help. My name is John Lee. The topic for my self-improvement informational speech on topical organization and causation is engaging governmental employees' cooperation in the legislative and judicial environment through effective communication. Does this sound scary? It's not when you learn the secrets. My experience. I've had many years of government employment or around people with government employment. I've filed lawsuits against the government, including criminal charges against government employees like politicians, police, and military commanders. I've won many lawsuits, including class actions. Decades of journalism on these topics. I've been published around the world in magazines and newspapers. I've been on TV throughout Europe and the United States, featured on History Channel, Asahi TV in Japan. Saturday Night Live TV just did a little shout out to my public access TV show last month. So I have written and filed a First Amendment appellate brief with the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals. Went on a TV broadcast I was doing of a world-famous trial in Knoxville. So this information can offer you options you did not know existed. Then you decide how you want to use it or not. These are topics I find interesting and can put money in your pocket. This speech explains basic principles of communication for citizens and lobbyists. We're going to talk about how to speak to politicians, how to write letters to politicians. These are things that anybody can do. It would be advised that you maybe do a little extra research on how to format a letter to a politician. Call them things like the honorable. They like that stuff. Basic principles of communication are useful for important issues involving government employees. You're just conflict resolution. You are dealing with problems, solving problems, passing information. This is also useful information for current government employees. They can use it to solve their problems. They run into these same problems too. Just because you're in the government as an employee doesn't mean you're immune to these problems. You can always do further research for yourself, confirm the truth for yourself, discover more information, and move up to advanced techniques if you want. Our constitutions are a written guarantee to protect our rights. They don't grant us our rights. We're born with these rights, but the constitutions are guaranteed. The government says the only reason we exist is to guarantee your rights. If we don't do that, we're no longer should be in existence. One of these rights is the right to petition for redress of grievances. The right to freedom of speech, that's the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The freedom to not speak, that's the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Tennessee Constitution also incorporates these rights. Contract law is often more powerful than the constitutions or other laws because you can waive your constitutional rights voluntarily by signing a contract, or the contract can actually grant you more rights than the Constitution does. Like the Tennessee Constitution often grants more rights than the federal Constitution. It can't take rights away, but it can grant more rights. A student handbook in college or whatever is a contract for academic freedom and due process. It's a written contract. It's binding in the courts. First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says, no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That's important. If the government takes your property, they've got to pay you for it. The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of citizens nor deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law, nor deny the equal protection of the laws." Now, this 14th Amendment is allegedly what freed both the black slaves and the white slaves, because there were white slaves on the plantations during the U.S. Civil War, just like the first slaves sold in America were white, not blacks. Schools won't teach you that. News won't teach you that, but it's true. You can read the books on it. The academic freedom has destroyed that in the school system. There is no academic freedom, apparently. The federal government also went to the Civil War to enforce the 14th Amendment, burned down entire cities like Atlanta, burned down many cities in Tennessee to enforce the 14th Amendment. It's very powerful. There is some question. Some judges and legislatures have told me to my face that the U.S. Constitution does not apply in Tennessee. This is because it was ratified at gunpoint in Congress. The congressmen were they would be shot if they didn't sign it by Abraham Lincoln, the dictator. So there is a question whether the 14th Amendment is applying in the state of Tennessee in state courts. But technically, if you appeal it to a higher court, they have to use the 14th Amendment. So there's still that Civil War mentality, warfare going on in the courts. So Pellissippi State Community College, in the 2013 college catalogs, in the section on student rights, says, quote, "In the classroom, the professor in the classroom and in the conference should encourage free discussion, inquiry, and expression. Student performance should be evaluated solely on an academic basis, not on opinions or conduct in matters unrelated to academic standards. Protection of freedom of expression. Students should be free to take reasoned exception to the data or views offered in any course of study and to reserve judgment about matters of opinion. Protection against improper academic evaluation. Students should have protection through orderly procedures against prejudiced or capricious academic evaluation," end quote. The Tennessee Constitution says, this is something most people don't read, but it is a fairly interesting document. Section 2 says that government being instituted for the common benefit, the doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. Section 7, that the people shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and possessions from unreasonable searches and seizures. Section 17, suits may be brought against the state in such manner and in such courts as the legislature may by law direct. Section 19, that the printing press shall be free to every person to examine the proceedings of the legislature or of any branch or officer of the government, and no law shall be made to restrain the right thereof. The free communication of thoughts and opinions is one of the invaluable rights of man, and every citizen may freely speak, write, or print on any subject, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. But in prosecutions for publication of papers investigating the official conduct of officers or men in public capacity, the truth thereof may be given in evidence, and in all instances for libel, the jury shall have the right to determine the law and the facts under the direction of the court, as in all other criminal cases. Section 21, that no man's particular services shall be demanded or property taken or applied to public use without the consent of his representatives or without just compensation being made thereof. Section 23, that the citizen has a right in a peaceful manner to assemble together for their common good, to instruct their representatives, and to apply to those invested with the powers of government for redress of grievances. So that's the last one there is pretty much what this speech is about, is redress of grievances. You have the right to communicate with your elected representatives. A lobbyist is defined as anyone who writes a letter or speaks to a politician. This is according to the Citizen's Guide to Lobbying Congress by Donald D. Keffer. So if you write a letter or shake your congressman's hand, you're a lobbyist. If you ask him for anything, can you just turn that off, please? Thank you. So my mother is retired, approximate age 75, living on Social Security. When the Social Security stopped all benefits after her husband died, I guess they thought she died. So she made many trips to the Social Security offices in 2 states, speaking to them face to face. They refused to acknowledge that she was still alive. So they refused to pay her benefits, cut her off Medicare. So I wrote a letter to Congressman Zach Wong, a Republican in Tennessee. He fixed the problem. My 13-year lawsuit for Social Security disability, I won that pro se without an attorney. Apparently, no attorney will take an SSI case for anybody. So, because they can't get paid up front from Social Security on that, so they just won't take it. So I won my case, 13-year battle in federal court. But after I won, the Social Security Administration ignored the court order signed by a federal magistrate awarding my benefits, and they refused to pay me my 10 years back pay. So I wrote a letter to Congressman Jimmy Duncan, Republican of Tennessee. He fixed the problem. My wife was a whistleblower in the United States Air Force. She reported literally billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse. We wrote thousands of pages of congressional letters to both Democrats and Republicans. Several congressional investigations resulted. All her commanding officers were fired, up to a 4-star general who was leading Operation Desert Storm at the time, General Mike Dugan. She was then offered a job working at the Pentagon by Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney, the man who fired General Dugan. So writing simple letters is powerful. The power of the press can also influence government to do the right thing, or vice versa. A letter to the editor of your local newspaper. You can buy paid advertising in the newspaper or magazine. You can start a free blog, website, or social media. You can do public access TV for $25 a year in Knoxville. You can do a local radio show for free if you want by bartering with the station owner. I do all of these things right now, currently. The most effective lobbying is a personal visit to a politician. You can go to their office. Congressmen have local offices in major cities. The governor as well will have a local office. You don't have to go all the way to Nashville. You can go to a campaign event in your local voting precinct. Congressman Jimmy Duncan rents the whole Knoxville Coliseum, gives free food to thousands of people, and shakes their hands. So you can shake their hand, give them a letter. This is how I got my Social Security disability fixed, and I got to enjoy a free concert, courtesy of Congressman Duncan. Now, these are basic communication skills. Advanced communication skills are campaign donations. Now, United States Senator William Proxmire, Democrat in Wisconsin, called this legalized bribery. You know, as a joke, satire. Senator Proxmire gave out his Golden Fleece Awards every year for government fraud, waste, and abuse in Washington, D.C. There is no law against individual campaign contributions to politicians. The Comprehensive Governmental Ethics Reform Act of 2006 in Tennessee provides for many exceptions to rules prohibiting gifts to politicians. This is according to the Manual for Lobbyists and Employers of Lobbyists by the Tennessee Ethics Commission, revised in 2011. Gifts allowed, examples are books, videos, press kits. You can also give a lot more if you've got more money, which is what professional lobbyists do every day. Campaign donations get laws changed and government employees hired. They can be extremely powerful. These are examples of communication. Sometimes the best tactic may be silence to get what you want. Dodging service of process is a lawful tactic used by lawyers and by college professors in Tennessee. UT football coach Phil Fulmer was sued for conspiracy and defamation by a booster at University of Alabama after Alabama was busted for cheating in their recruiting process. This booster alleged in his lawsuit that Philip Fulmer narked on Alabama to save the University of Tennessee Knoxville football program from being shut down permanently for cheating on recruiting. So he narked just like, he's a rat. He ratted on him. So Coach Fulmer dodged this subpoena by refusing to speak in public during an NCAA press conference, and maybe more than one press conference. UT lawyers told Coach Fulmer to dodge service of process, which cost UTK a $10,000 fine by the SEC for missing this single press conference. Coach Fulmer said, quote, "Why am I not in Birmingham? I'm a defendant along with the NCAA and American Football Coaches Association in a frivolous lawsuit in Tuscaloosa. I wasn't expecting a subpoena, but maybe every time I go to Birmingham, I probably will be expecting a subpoena. The issue is it's all crap, and they are trying to use the press, trying to use a day that's very special to the Southeastern Conference for players and coaches. A couple of you have called me a coward. I was really disappointed to see that." This is from TampaBay.com, an article titled "Tennessee Coach, The Voices of Reasons" on July 30th, 2004. And Fulmer finds subpoena, says the issue is all crap. July 24, 2008 by GoVolsExtra.com. Now warning, the following option works only for traffic camera tickets and parking tickets of any type. Lawyers tell how millions of drivers win in traffic court by simply throwing the ticket away and ignoring it. There's no need to appear in court, no need to mail in money to pay the ticket. Attorney Norman Fernandez, in his free ebook, How to Beat a Speeding Ticket, at normanlaw.com, in the section on photo radar says, quote, "It is extremely easy to beat this type of ticket in court. Your easiest defense is to simply throw the ticket away. If it does not come with the return receipt that requires a signature, there's no proof that you actually got the ticket," end quote. So I love traffic camera tickets and traffic cameras for this reason, and I believe that all traffic police should be replaced with robot cameras for this reason. Personal service is defined as handing a defendant the summons and the complaint, not mailing it to them first-class mail that does not require signature. No personal service, no due process. Due process is defined as fairness. That's required for any lawsuit, to start any lawsuit. Your other options are to pay the ticket by mail, appear in court and pay the ticket, appear in court and fight the ticket. You can file a lawsuit against the government for the ticket. A lot of people do that. Make up your own mind what to do. In conclusion, there's basic information for communicating with public servants by lobbying. Write letters, meet them face to face, lawful campaign donations. You can ignore the problem. If enough people do that, they take notice. Like 85% of people in Arizona don't pay these red light speeding traffic camera tickets. You can file lawsuits against the government. There's no guarantees any of this will work for you, but you will be better prepared, and preparation lowers your stress level. Government employees are more likely to cooperate when you use these techniques. Challenging situations often result in a beneficial outcome when you use these techniques. Know your options, be informed. Good luck. Copyright John Lee, 2013. Thank you. So, it's an F.
Do we clap?
Yeah. Okay, now stay seated. I got to move the camera around. Yeah, so I meant to turn the AC up, but that's good because then it's so loud that you can't hear
Be
it.
careful you say
It don't get no more goofy than that.
Pirate.